Let's get back to the mindful eating then. So as we say, we've got this kind of, as we have in mindfulness throughout, we have more structured clinical forms, the MBE program being one of them. And then we have more experiential forms, the other sort of mid-ground mindfulness, that would be the headspace one. Of course, eating and the relationship with food has always been part of the more traditional spiritual side of mindfulness too. And so fasting, for example, is a key thing here. So fasting is something that's part of the Buddhist philosophy, part of mindfulness, part of other faiths and religions and spiritual approaches too. So there's something really interesting. What is it about food and our relationship with food, which means that for many, many spiritual contemplative practices in our cultures, the giving up, the purposeful giving up of food is actually seen as a positive activity. So very odd. If any of you have done fasting before and you want to pop a comment in or ask any questions, then please do so. But it's very, very interesting. I've done fasting often myself. And this is why fasting then is important in these spiritual and contemplative approaches. And it's because eating is one of our strongest mind, body, and emotional habits. And if you think of our habits, our habitual routines, eating is a strong one, isn't it? And hunger is one of those things where the more you go without food, the stronger the drive becomes. And so it's trying to pull us back into our habitual routines all the time. If you've got a pet, particularly a cat or a dog, I've got a dog, and if I give her a treat, let's say in between her breakfast and her lunch that she has, if I give her a treat in between, maybe 1 or 2 days, suddenly it becomes a habit and she's giving me the eyes, begging me for that treat. Dogs learn it very quickly, humans a little less so, but still it's strong, very strong in us. And it's never the healthy way, that if we miss breakfast, we'll be happy to miss it the next day. It's always the other way. The more that we eat food, the more that it becomes a habit. And so suddenly we're snacking in between meals. Suddenly we're having puddings after every meal. And that can easily become our new rhythm and routine. And as you and I know in mindfulness, the ego doesn't like to change its rhythms and routines. And that's why it's hard then if we're doing a diet or we want to let go of some of those things we've took up. So that's why fasting is an important part, because it pits you against one of your strongest mind, body, and emotional habits. We have comfort eating, for example, so it's an emotional thing too. And it really chucks you in the deep end, though, because when you're fasting, you've got a choice. When you come up against these habits and these drives, you either back away very quickly and go back into those old habits. And I've been on retreats where people do that. First meal time comes and they sort of, no, I'm going back. I'm stopping this retreat. Or you push through it. And it's in the pushing through it that we transcend, we go beyond the power of those habits, those routines, and those drives. And that's really the deeper spiritual contemplative journey of mindfulness holistically. But in food, you can see why that's a very powerful but challenging activity to do. Do you back away into your old routines, or do you push through to open the doors beyond? I won't lie to you, it's very, very intense. First 3 days that I did a full week fasting with just water, first 3 days were hell. But day 4, the hunger pangs went, so the physical sensation changed, the mental sort of thinking of food subsided, the emotional craving subsided. I could have actually gone on a lot longer with fasting once I got over those initial 3 days. So it seems to take a few days to sort of get beyond those drives, those habits that we have with food. So as I say, if you've ever experienced that yourself, because a lot of people do, please let us know your experiences. That would be interesting. If you feel that's something that you might want to try, then obviously be careful with it and do some investigation work beforehand. If you feel, wow, that's too intense for me, I'm happy just doing what we're doing today, then great. Mindfulness has many, many pathways for us to follow. But let's get back to what we are going to do today then, which is the experiential mindful eating. And if any of you have ever done wine tasting before, it's going to be very, very similar in that we're going to take our time, we're going to notice things about the food, and we're going to connect and commit ourselves to the experience of eating. Obviously, a lot of people, and I include myself in this, often when we eat, it's just very quick. It's whilst we're doing something else, so the mind is wandering away onto that. And so with mindful eating, we just want to give everything, all of our awareness and attention to the experience of eating. It's probably a good time just to reiterate the basics of mindfulness, because that's what we're going to do here, but we're just going to do it whilst we eat. If you think of the basics of mindfulness, we always do. First thing we do is pause, hit that pause button, and notice now. So we'll begin by doing that as we always do. Then we try to push our awareness into the features of now. So we're noticing sound, we're noticing body temperature, we're noticing body sensations, thoughts, emotions, whatever it might be. And then when the mind wanders away, remember, you don't worry if it does, that's just normal. But when the mind wanders away, we gently bring it back to now and just stay there again as long as we can. So we're having this present centered awareness, accepting that it will wander, just bringing it back, noticing now as moment passes to moment. So we're going to do the exact same thing with eating. Extensions then to the basic steps of mindfulness we've just said, with that calm and the clarity and the groundedness that comes with mindfulness. One aspect of mindfulness is then try to bring some positive changes to yourself. So again, therapeutic mindfulness, clinical mindfulness will focus on, okay, now we've slowed down, now we've got a better look at things, how do we make things better for whatever the issue is that you're dealing with? So we'll do a bit of that. The other bit then, once you've slowed down, you've created space and capacity, you've quietened thoughts down, judgments, then there's the spiritual side of things. You can then explore deeper states of consciousness. So that would be another branch of mindfulness once you've done the basics. And so really that's a nice little summary of mindfulness, and in these sessions we were doing lots of different things around that kind of model. Today we'll do a little bit of work on the pausing, noticing, bringing the mind back. Then we're going to connect with the food, do some mindful eating, and that will take you as long as it does, but I'll come in after about 5 minutes of that, and then we'll just do a nice relaxation mindfulness exercise for the rest of time that we've got today. So if you do have some food in front of you, please get that close by. My daughter's baked me a nice healthy muffin, apparently, just 100 calories. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. But it can be absolutely anything that you've got. We'll just pop it in front of you. Normally when I do this live in classes, my daughter bakes cakes for us, so we all come up and get some nice cakes. And then I say to people, take it back and to your chair and just wait, and we'll all do this together. The amount of people who by the time they've gone back to the chair have already ate one, and then they go, oh, I'm really sorry, I didn't know, could I have another one, please? So hopefully you've got one that you're saving for now. But if not, if you've not got any food at the moment, you can always come back and have a go at this on the recording too. But I know it's cruel, but just keep that in front of you for now. We're going to do 2 minutes of work just to set ourselves up in the usual way. And then I'm just going to guide you through it, and we'll connect with the food, with the sensation of eating, and we'll see how it is for us. And then we'll just relax then for the next 10 minutes or so after that. So as always, wherever you are, if you just want to make yourselves nice and comfortable, just happy in your personal space. And for this first part, if you want to close your eyes, that's fine. In fact, when we're eating, we're going to be looking at the food to begin with, so obviously open them then. But then as we're tasting the food, if you want to close your eyes, that's great. But as always, you do what's comfortable for you. Very gentle approach is mindfulness. So let's hit that pause button. And let's notice now, just as we've always done, Let's pause. Notice things outside of us, maybe sound, maybe temperature, maybe texture. Absolutely anything. But for the next few moments, let's just notice now. So around me now, I've noticed the birds chirping. I think maybe it's lunchtime for some of those as well. What's going on around you? Push your awareness into noticing differences, noticing things that emerge, things that come and then go again. Remember, we don't need any commentary on these experiences. We don't need any judgments or analysis. Our job is simply to be an observer, to notice and to let go. Of course, the next thing to do then is to start to embody the moment, to notice how we are right here, right now. Let's do the body temperature as we normally do. Can we just notice parts of the body that are warmer right now? And then switching to noticing parts of the body that are cooler too. And then moving deep inside of ourselves, noticing that natural breath rhythm. Try not to change the rhythm. In fact, we won't change the rhythm at all today, because when you are eating, your breath finds its own rhythm anyway. So let's notice the natural rhythm, trying not to change it, allowing it to be whatever it is. But noticing as we do the pace of the breath and the depth of it. And the way it's moving the body. And sometimes just noticing the natural breath allows the body to begin to slow down, to begin to relax. You might feel your shoulders just easing up, just dropping a little. Let's see if we can let go of anything that we don't need right now. If it's important, we can pick it up later. Let's pop it down for now. Freeing up some mind, body and emotional space to give to the act and experience of eating. And just remember, as we do this and any activity, any practice, if and when the mind wanders, no judgment, you're not doing it wrong. It's just the habit of the mind. Once we've noticed it's wandering, we can try to bring it back, noticing the here and now moments again, focusing back on whatever we're doing. And of course, the thing we're doing today is eating. So if you have your eyes closed, if you'd like to open them now. And the first thing we're going to do is notice the food visually. So just have a look at the food as it's sitting in front of you. And then let's push our awareness into the features of the food. So maybe let's start by noticing different shapes that make up your food. Maybe notice different colours too. Notice different textures that you can see. And maybe if you can, just move the plate or whatever it is around so you can see different parts of the food too. Noticing differences. The next thing we can do is just touch the food. How does it feel for you? So the muffin I have, the top of it seems nice and firm, the sides a little softer. And then of course the next thing we can do with food is to smell it. So if you can, just smell the food. The link between smell and taste, smell and memory, smell and emotion is very strong. So just notice in yourself what responses come. You don't have to do anything with them. No analysis. Just notice and let go. And then of course the next thing we're going to do is actually taste and eat the food. Before you do, we'll just set this up so we can just let 5 minutes go whilst you do that. Of course, we want to take the same approach when we're eating it. Do it as slowly as you can, noticing the experience, the sensations, the textures, the tastes. See if you can detect different ingredients in there. The aftertaste is important too. So again, just slow down, notice it afterwards. And just try to give 5 minutes out of the day to eating the food, pushing our awareness into the experience, noticing the features. So let's give this some time now. So just carry on. There's no requirement to eat everything that's in front of you. There's no requirement not to. But in about 4 or 5 minutes time, I'll come back in and then I'll just lead us into 10 minutes or so. Nice mindful relaxation. So enjoy. We can just continue for another minute or so with eating your end. So no rush, take your time. One of the key findings that we have in mindful eating is that it does actually result in people eating less, both in terms of frequency during a day, but also in terms of portion size. That's a really, really interesting, important area from a psychological perspective. Because what we know is that we all have a habitual, rhythmic period of time that we're used to eating. Let's say, for example, it's 5 minutes. And so if, like me, you were brought up in a house, I've got lots of brothers, so if you didn't eat quick, you didn't eat. So if you're used to eating fast, which a lot of people are, as they're busy, as they're doing it, whilst they're working or doing other things, and actually we can eat quite a lot in 5 minutes, mindlessly, not even tasting it. So one of the most powerful things that mindful eating does for us is because we slow down, because we notice the sensations and the experience of eating, then actually we eat less in that period of time, let's say 5 minutes again. Once that 5 minutes is up, because it's habitual in nature, the mind says, okay, that's enough of that, what are we doing next? So often it leads to people eating less too. And that's part of its benefits. But certainly, I think the prevalence of mindless eating in our society has to be quite high. So if we can devote time, if we can give ourselves a lunch break, if we can protect time, eat in a mindful way, then that can be good for us too. If you are continuing to eat, please do so. I'm just going to move us now into just 10 minutes of a nice mindfulness relaxation. And often one of the things that we don't do is we don't pause and rest after we've had some food. Usually we eat and then we carry on with what we're doing or pick something up. But actually the body, the mind and the emotions need that time. We've just put a lot of food into the stomach. It needs some time just to do its natural processing, natural rhythms. So a bit of relaxation after eating can also be powerful, and it also allows the mind to notice, okay, yes, you've had some food, so you don't need any more. You don't need to snack later on. When we eat mindlessly, it bypasses the brain's ability to notice how much food, particularly fats and sugars, we've actually had. So as I say, if you're still eating, you want to carry on, please do so. But if you're ready to join us, again, let's just close the eyes once more. We're just going to stay with the natural breath for this practice. So just reconnect with that natural breath to begin with. Maybe it's changed. Usually it does once we've ate. So we can notice once more the depth, the pace, the movement of the body. For those who have been with me before, you might have heard me say that there are many good mindfulness practices where you just sit with the natural breath and just bring the mind back when it wanders. Usually I'm trying to show lots of different techniques in one meditation, so I need to move on. But today we're going to do just that. We're going to sit with the natural breath rhythm, trying to keep the mind noticing things as they come and go, moment to moment, moving our awareness outside of us, inside of us, looking for differences, trying to let go of any thoughts, any commentary, any judgments, any analysis. And instead just accepting ourselves, our surroundings, each other. Most importantly, accepting the moments as they come and go without our interference. So let's try to settle into this now, just trying to relax yourself as much as possible, letting the breath go where it needs to. But if and when the mind wanders wherever it wants to, let's just gently bring it back. Doesn't matter how many times we need to do that. Let's have some nice, quiet, relaxed time now. As we've said before, often when you're just sitting with the natural breath, things begin to slow down anyway. The mind, body and emotions begin to relax, and hopefully you begin to feel that. And of course, we've just ate some food, so you might notice the body's natural rhythms and processes taking over. You can just leave them to it. But one thing often that happens is as the body relaxes, any areas that are still tense or uncomfortable, maybe even painful, they tend to come to the fore and grab the awareness. So if you do notice as we're sitting here today doing this meditation, if you do notice any parts of the body a little tense that could do with a bit more intentional relaxation, we could do a bit of body scan work with that. If you've been with me before or done a body scan elsewhere, you'll know what to do. If not, all we do, let's say my shoulders at the moment are a little tense. So all I do is just change my breath into a more deeper, rhythmical, intentional breath. Something we call the mindful breath. And all I'm going to do for a few breaths is to use that breath on the body part. The deep in-breath can be a noticing breath or a movement breath. And then the deep out-breath is a release and relax breath. So if you have any areas of the body that could do with a little bit of focused help to relax, just use those breaths as long as you need to, as often as you need to. Let's see if we can really let ourselves relax for another 3 minutes or so. Good, and now we can just begin to reconnect with ourselves. As we come to the end of any mindfulness meditation, it's nice just to look back, just to reflect. Notice how our experiences have been today. Sometimes the doors are wide open to the mindful state, whatever other practices we do. Sometimes they're closed. Sometimes we have to give them a bit of a push. It's always different. You're never doing it wrong. We're simply trying to create the conditions through which the mindful state can come. Sometimes the mind is busy, sometimes it's less busy. Sometimes the body is tense. Sometimes it's nice and relaxed already. So no judgment, but an awareness how it was for us today will help us the next time we try it. And the next thing I'd like to do, please, is just reconnect with the breath again, wherever that rhythm is right now is fine. Can we all just find a slightly deeper rhythm, please, to help us come back out of the meditative state? And let's just reconnect with this big breath. Can we notice how this breath sounds, how it feels, and how it's moving the body? And we're simply going to use this breath to help us to bring the mind back to its waking state. And just take a few slightly quicker breaths whenever you're ready. Open the eyes, have a stretch, a shuffle, a drink, whatever you need to do your end. But just bring yourself out of the meditative state back to your normal state. Reconnecting with what's going on around you.